Hello students, welcome to MDR Math channel. In this session, I am going to discuss the quadratic equation. This session is aimed to give you a complete picture on quadratic equations. A complete picture on quadratic equations. And it is specially made for JEE aspirants, but it is also useful for other engineering competitive exams and board exams as well. Right? So the following topics, the following concepts are covered in this session. The concepts are the quadratic equation and its vertex form and its importance, the roots of the quadratic equation, the properties of the roots, nature of the roots, graphical representation of a quadratic function. It is very important to learn to solve the problem from JEE main exams and JEE advanced exams, and the location of the roots and common roots, right? So let's start with the quadratic equation and its vertex form. First, let me explain what is quadratic equation. Quadratic equation is a polynomial, right? A polynomial expression with a degree 2 which is equated to 0. So it can be written ax square plus bx plus c is equal to 0. Generally, ax square plus bx plus c is called a quadratic expression or a quadratic function. When you equate it to 0, that becomes a quadratic equation such that a should not be equal to 0 and a, b, c must be real numbers. And what are these a, b and c? A is known as coefficient of x square, and b is known as coefficient of x, and c is known as constant term, and c is known as constant term. And these a, b and c must be real numbers. We are going to deal with only the real numbers of a, b and c. We are not going to deal with imaginary complex numbers. Remember that. And a must not be equal to 0. Why? Because when a is equal to 0, this becomes a linear equation. That is, bx plus c is equal to 0 becomes a linear equation. It's a linear equation. Now, coming to the vertex form. The vertex form of this quadratic equation will be a into x plus b by 2a whole square minus b square minus 4ac by 2a is equal to 0. B square minus 4ac by 2a is equal to 0. Right? Or you may write it as a into x plus b by 2a whole square minus b by 2a is equal to 0, where b is discriminant, where d is equal to b square minus 4ac and is called discriminant of the quadratic equation. Okay, so it's clear. So a is called coefficient of x square, b is called coefficient of x, c is a constant term, and this is the vertex form. Actually, it can be derived, but I am not going to discuss about the derivation and proofs. Okay, because JEE exams require only applications, not the derivations and proofs. You should know the applications of the equations and the properties and the roots. Right? Now let's see what are the roots of a quadratic equation. So the roots of the quadratic equation are given by, you can see here, right, from this vertex form, that is x plus b by 2a whole square minus d by 4ac is equal to 0. So from this, what you can write, a into x plus b by 2a whole square, which is equal to b square minus 4ac by 4a, just 4a, okay, b square minus 4ac by 4a. So further it can be written as, so what will you get? X plus b by 2a is equal to, so when you take a to the right hand side, it becomes 4a square. So that is plus or minus root of b square minus 4ac by 4a, 4a square, right? This further it can be written as x is equal to minus b plus or minus root of b square minus 4ac by 2a. b square minus 4ac by 2a, right? So you can see here, right, we have two values of x. So what does it mean? When you substitute this value of x in the given quadratic equation, so that equation becomes 0. Okay, that means at what values of x this quadratic equation is 0, so the quadratic expression, maybe you can say that quadratic expression equals to 0. So that is, those values are called roots of the equation. So these values are now known as roots of the quadratic equation. Right? So in most of the times, we are going to use alpha and beta with the roots of the equation. Okay? We use alpha and beta with the roots of the quadratic equation, so that you can write alpha is equal to minus b plus root of b square minus 4ac by 2a, and beta is minus b minus root of b square minus 4ac by 2a. Right? So they are the roots of the given quadratic equation. Now let's discuss the properties of the roots, which is one of the important concepts for JEE Main and JEE Advanced. Most of the times, most of the problems will be asked based on the properties of the roots and the location of the roots. These two are very important to understand. So coming to the properties of the roots, so on writing some of the roots, so some of the roots, that is alpha plus beta, on adding alpha and beta, what do you see? Minus b by 2a plus minus b by 2a, that is minus b by a, right? And the product of the roots, that is alpha into beta is equal to c by a. So when you multiply the given two roots, then you will get c by a. So most of the times, I just told you again, I'm repeating it again, most of the times the problems from JEE Main and Advanced will be asked on properties of the roots and location of the roots. So this is one concept you should remember, and then you should understand, and then the location of the roots is another concept you should understand. Right? So now let's discuss the nature of the roots. The nature of the roots depends on the discriminant value. So what the discriminant here, where d is equal to b square minus 4ac is called discriminant. So based on this, the nature of the roots will depend, right? So we know that when d is equal to 0, the roots are, when d is equal to 0, roots are real and equal. Real and equal. If d is greater than 0, roots are real but distinct. That is real and distinct. If d is less than 0, if d is less than 0 means when d is negative, we will see the value of the roots, with square under negative value. The negative value under square root. So that will become an imaginary number. So that the roots are imaginary. Roots are imaginary. When roots are imaginary, we'll have an advantage that so the imaginary roots always come with conjugate pair as conjugate pair. That means if your one root is x plus iy, then other root will become x minus iy. Anyway, we are not going to discuss about these complex roots in this session. So another session will be made on complex numbers and the complex roots. Okay. Now, when d is greater than 0, roots are real and distinct. So when d is a perfect square, you will see that roots are rational. If d is not a perfect square, you will see that roots are irrational numbers. Okay. If d is a perfect square, that means discriminant is perfect square, you will see that the roots are real. If d is not perfect square, then roots are real and irrational. Otherwise, roots are irrational. Right? The graphical representation of a quadratic function is very important, especially for solving the problems from JEE Main and JEE Advanced. You know, the problems which are based on the location of the roots require the minimum knowledge on the graphical representation of a quadratic function. Here I am going to explain in detail, how to represent a quadratic function and how to locate the roots of a quadratic equation. So for that, let's start with very simple, that is y is equal to x square. So when you take y is equal to x square, so we know that, right? So y equal to x square is a quadratic function, isn't it? So quadratic function takes parabolic curve. So it is a parabolic curve on xy graph, right? So with the vertex 0, 0, y equal to x square vertex is 0, 0. So when you take the values like some 1, 2 and so on, when you take 1, so at x is equal to 1, your y is 1, or you can write, y is a function of x. So when you substitute f of 1, so your y will be x square, that is 1 square 1, and when you substitute f of 2, that will become 4, right? And when you substitute minus 1, so that will be equal to 1 again. Okay, so f of minus 1 is plus 1, f of 1 is plus 1, f of 2 is plus 4, f of minus 2 also plus 4, so that the curve takes the parabolic shape completely on positive side of the y-axis, right? Similarly, if we take the curve with y is equal to minus x square, so this is y is equal to minus x square, right? So the values remain same. When you substitute x is equal to 1, your y is equal to minus x square, minus of 1 square, that will become minus 1. So minus of minus 1 whole square also minus 1. So that the curve completely comes on negative side of the y-axis. And you can say that this y is equal to x square curve faces upwards, and this y is equal to minus x square curve faces downwards. Okay, it is facing downwards. This yellow curve facing downwards, y equal to minus x square. The curve in white color facing upwards, which is y is equal to x square. Let's take properly. Let us take y is equal to x square plus 1. Okay, and let's see how it looks like on a graph. So y is equal to x square plus 1. At x is equal to 0, you will see that, so the minimum value of 1 for this curve, right? The minimum value of this expression, this function is equal to 1. So that is, let's say this is the 1, and this curve will take like this. The curve will take the shape like this, right? Y is equal to x square plus 1 will take the shape like this. And what are the coordinates here? The coordinates are 0, 1. The coordinates of vertex, of parabola is 0, 1. Now let's consider one more curve, that is y is equal to minus x square plus 1. So this is y is equal to minus x square plus 1. In this case also, when you have x square plus 1, this curve facing upwards. When you have y equal to minus x square plus 1, this curve facing downwards. Right? So what could you see here? So we can see here that when the x square coefficient is positive, the curve facing upwards. When the x square coefficient is negative, the curve facing downwards. Isn't it? That means, so your x square coefficient, the coefficient of x square decides, the coefficient of x square decides whether the curve facing upwards or downwards. One of the important things you need to understand. If the coefficient of x square is positive, so it faces upwards, it opens upwards, and if it is negative, it faces downwards. If it is negative, it faces downwards. But if you see that vertex in both the cases, it remains same, 0, 1. Okay, the coordinates of the vertex, it remains same, which is 0, 1. And in this case, y is equal to x square case, it is 0, 0. And I want you to understand, I want you to observe here one more point. This y is equal to minus x square plus 1 cuts x-axis at this point and at this point, right? So y equal to minus x square plus 1 cuts x-axis at this point and at this point. So where the coordinates are probably, these coordinates will be 1, 0, and this is minus 1, 0, right? So wherever it cuts x-axis, wherever this parabola cuts x-axis, wherever this parabola cuts x-axis, the coordinates at that point, the x-coordinate at that point, the intersection point is the root of the given equation. So root means when y is equal to 0. When y is equal to 0, along the x-axis, y is 0. Along the x-axis, y is 0. So when y is equal to 0, so you will see that x-coordinate as the root of the equation. So then what about this y is equal to x square plus 1? X square plus 1 curve does not intersect with x-axis. Isn't it? It is not intersecting with x-axis, and it does not even touch the x-axis. That means y can never be equal to 0. Y can never be equal to 0. That means you cannot see the roots of x square plus 1. Okay, you cannot see the roots of x square plus 1. That means the real roots we cannot find for x square plus 1 equals to 0, because this curve never touches the x-axis. The curve never touches the x-axis. What about when you take y is equal to x square or y is equal to minus x square? What about the roots here? So you can see here both the curves touch the x-axis at 0, 0, so that the root of this equation is 0. Okay, the root of this equation is 0. And in case of in the second case, where you have x square plus 1 minus x square plus 1, minus x square plus 1 has two roots, that is 1 and minus 1, but x square plus 1 does not have the roots. So 2 points you need to understand. So what is meant by roots on the graph? Where this curve touches or intersects the x-axis, there you will see the roots. And when it opens upwards, okay, when it opens up and when this curve showing downwards, so when this coefficient of x square is positive, it shows upwards, otherwise it shows downwards. Now let's take one more. Let us take y is equal to x. Let me take x minus 1 whole square, right? So y is equal to x minus 1 whole square. So how does it look like? So of course it is a parabolic shape, and here x square coefficient is positive, so that it faces upwards, and at x is equal to 1, your y is 0. That means at 1, you will see that this curve touches x-axis. This curve touches x-axis at x is equal to 1, right? That means the vertex of this coordinates is 1, 0. The vertex of the coordinates is 1, 0. What if I take y is equal to minus x minus 1 whole square? Then your curve will become like this. Y is equal to minus x minus 1 whole square, because x coefficient is negative, so it faces downwards and it takes this shape. Right? I hope you got it. Now let's take one more example. Probably let me write y is equal to x minus 1 whole square plus 2. What happens when we take y is equal to x minus 1 whole square plus 2? So we have here this is the origin where both x and y are 0, and this is x is equal to 1, let's say, and y is 2, right? Let's say that this is 2. So this is the point of vertex. This is the point of vertex of this curve. So at x is equal to 1, you will see the minimum value of this curve, minimum value of this function, so that your curve will go like this. Y equal to x minus 1 whole square plus 2 will go like this. And what are the coordinates of vertex here? 1, 2. Remember, what are the coordinates of vertex of this parabola? 1, 2. Okay. Now, let me take similar way. Let me take y is equal to minus x minus 1 whole square. Minus x minus 1 whole square plus 2. So, what do you see again? For this parabola also, the vertex, the coordinates of the vertex are 1, 2. Right? The coordinates of the vertex are 1, 2. So what do you see from this? What do you see from this? When you have an equation y is equal to x minus h whole square plus k. When you have an equation x minus h whole square plus k, then what are your coordinates? When you have x minus 1 whole square plus 2, the coordinates are 1, 2, right? Or when you have minus x minus 1 whole square plus 2 also, it is having the same. You may write it like this: y is equal to a into x minus h whole square. Let me write y is equal to a into x minus h whole square plus k. So when you have it in this form, then the vertex is h comma k, right? And your a decides if a is positive. If a is positive, then it faces upwards. If a is negative, then it faces downwards. I hope you got it, right? These points you need to understand. That's why, right? So that's why we have converted the quadratic equation into vertex form. So whatever the value we have here, that represents vertex, x coordinate of the vertex, and the value at k will give you y coordinate of the vertex. So in general, what equation we have? Y is equal to a into x minus b by 2a whole square plus b by 2a whole square minus. So if it is minus, let me convert it to plus. So that is minus d by 4a we have. Then what are the coordinates of vertex here? The coordinates of vertex is equal to, so if you have minus h, it is plus h, so that it must be minus b by 2a and minus d by 4a are the coordinates of vertex of a quadratic equation. I hope it is clear, right? And these three things you need to remember. One is that the vertex of the parabola or the vertex of the given function and the roots, wherever this curve touches x-axis, okay, wherever this curve intersects x-axis, there you will see the roots of the equation. Roots of the equation nothing but where y is equal to 0. So y is equal to 0 on x-axis. Whenever this curve crosses the x-axis, there you will find the root of the equation. Okay, there are two possibilities you will see for the curve. This curve may touch the x-axis, this curve may intersect the x-axis. There are two cases you can see. When this curve touches the x-axis, you will see that the roots are real and equal. When this curve intersects x-axis, you will see that roots are real and distinct. When this curve does not touch x-axis or does not intersect x-axis, then the roots are imaginary. So you can see here for this case, the roots are imaginary. And in this case, the roots are real and distinct. And in this case, the roots are real and equal. Real and equal. I hope you have understood it. So if you have this knowledge, you'll be able to identify the location of the roots very easily. Okay, hope you got it. Now, we shall see the location of the roots, right? So, when it comes to the location of the roots, we will see that 6 cases. Okay, so this is the case 1 where both the roots are greater than a number k. K will be any real number. Okay, both the roots are greater than a number k. So now first let me take a curve here. Okay, so there are two possibilities, right? When we have here right, let's say this is the x-axis and this is the given curve, and wherever this curve touches x-axis, you will see the roots. Let's say that alpha and beta are the roots here. Now what is the case we are dealing with here? Both the roots are greater than a number k. So on x-axis we know that this is the positive side and this is the negative side, right? So the values on x-axis decrease leftwards, the values on x-axis increase rightwards, right? So now your k must lie here. K must lie here. So here both alpha and beta, when you say that alpha and beta are the roots of this given equation, then this is your k. K must be less than both alpha and beta or alpha and beta greater than k. Now to satisfy this, to get the necessary condition, you can see here what is your f of k. At k, what is the value of y here? It is going upwards, right? So it going upwards means it is above the x-axis. Above the x-axis, y is positive. So your f of k is positive, and this is the case a greater than 0, right? Let's see what happens if you take a less than 0. So let me take one more curve where a less than 0, right? So let's say that this is alpha and this is beta, and both alpha and beta are greater than k, right? This is your k, right? What do you see? What is your f of k here? F of k is negative, isn't it? When you substitute the value of k in the given function, that will be negative here, and this is a less than 0 curve. So a is negative, okay? Here a is less than 0, f of k is less than 0. Both are less than 0, here both are negative. Here a is greater than 0 and f of k is also greater than 0. Both are positive here. So what about the product of these two? So the product of these two, a and f of k, is positive in the case 1, in this one, and product of a and f of k is positive here as well, because negative into negative is positive, isn't it? Negative into negative is positive. That means when both roots are greater than a number k, we see that a common condition, whether a is greater than 0 or less than 0, a into f of k is always greater than 0. A into f of k is always greater than 0. And of course, b must be greater than or equal to 0. That is, of course, a necessary condition. And what about this minus b by 2a. So here it is minus b by 2a, right? X coordinate is minus b by 2a and minus b by 4a, right? So this is the minus b by 2a value here, and this is the minus b by 2a value here, right? So in both the cases, this minus b by 2a is greater than k. So this is also a condition which satisfies, okay, whether a greater than 0 or a less than 0. Hope you got it. Very important to remember all the cases in location of the roots. It is very important to understand and very important to remember, right? A into f of k is greater than 0 in both the cases, whether a is positive or a is negative, right? And b minus b by 2a is always greater than k. Now let's see the second case. Both the roots are less than in number k. Both the roots are less than in number k. Let's take a curve here. Okay, and these are the alpha and beta. Here both the roots are less than number k, nothing but this is k, where a greater than 0. Let's take one more condition, that is a less than 0. So let's say this is alpha and this is beta and this is k, right? So what do you see here? Here a is greater than 0, and what about f of k? F of k is also greater than 0 because it goes on to the positive side. On the negative side we do not have the values for k, right? So y is positive for k. That means your f of k is greater than 0. And here what do you see? A is less than 0. What about f of k? F of k, the values of k we see here, right? When you extend this line, you will see that f of k is negative, that is less than 0. Again, a into f of k is always greater than 0. A into f of k is always greater than 0 in this case also. That means in the case 1 and case 2 are similar when it comes to a into f of k, but when you see that minus b by 2a, where do you have minus b by 2a? This is the minus b by 2a in this case, and this is the minus b by 2a in this case. So minus b by 2 is always less than k. Minus b by 2a is always less than k. I hope you got it here. Now let's go to the third case. Third case, a number k lies between the roots of the given equations, or you may call it as both roots lies either side of a number k, or one root is greater than k and other root is less than k. Let's take the two possibilities here. When this curve cuts x-axis, so let's say this is alpha and this is beta, but the condition k lies between the roots of the given equation. So this will be your k, right? When a greater than 0, this is the condition. Let's see it for when a is less than 0. So when a is less than 0, we see this. Let's say this is alpha and this is beta and this is k. K lies between alpha and beta. What do you see here? A is greater than 0. What about f of k? Your f of k is negative, right? When you substitute value of k, the y value is negative because we have the f of k on negative side of y-axis, right? That means below x-axis is nothing but negative. That means your f of k here is negative 0. What about f of k in this case? In this case, f of k is positive. F of k is positive because it is above the y-axis. The value on the curve, we see that it is above the y-axis. Now, what about the product of a and f of k? Here, in this case, a is negative, f of k is positive. Positive into negative is negative. Let's see this case, a is positive, f of k is negative. Again, positive into negative is negative. That means a into f of k is always less than 0. A into f of k is always less than 0 when it comes to k lies between the roots of the given equation. Now, let's go to the case 4. Exactly one root lies in the interval k and h. Exactly one root lies in the interval k and h. Let's see it on the graph. First, let us see it for a greater than 0, right? And let us draw one more diagram for a less than 0. This is a less than 0, right? Exactly one root lies in the interval k and h. Let's say that the roots are alpha and beta, k and h, such that where k less than h. So let's say that alpha is in between k and h. So this is k and h. And let's say that here alpha and beta we have, and here this is the k and h, right? Exactly one root lies in the interval k and h. You may take beta as well. In this case, you may write k and h, and beta is in between k and h, and you can compare. So what you see here, f of k is positive. In this case, f of k is positive and f of h is negative, isn't it? And in this case, f of k is negative and f of h is positive. So what you can say here, this f of k into f of h is always less than 0 because one is positive and other one is negative. So positive into negative is always less than 0. When exactly one root lies in the interval k and h where k less than h, so this is the condition. Okay, f of k into f of h is always less than 0. Now let's go to the 5. Both roots are confined between the numbers k and h. This is very interesting. This is very interesting. So you can see here, let's say we have alpha and beta where a greater than 0, right? So let's say that k is here and h is here. Both the roots confined between k and h. Now let's take the second possibility where a less than 0, right? So this is alpha and this is beta, right? Let's say that k and h. Okay, both alpha and beta confined between k and h, right? Now let's see the conditions. So what about f of k and f of h? See, in this case, f of k is positive, and in this case, f of h also positive. Here, f of k is greater than 0, and f of h is greater than 0. What about this case? In this case, f of k is negative, and in this case, f of h is negative. That means f of k is less than 0, f of h is less than 0, right? What do you see? When you take the product of these two, f of k and f of h, this f of k and f of h, f of k into f of h is always greater than 0, either positive into positive or negative into negative. It is always greater than 0. What about a into f of k, which is always positive? A into f of h is always positive, right? See, here a is negative and here all are negative in this case. In the yellow color, yellow curve, all are negative here. In the white color curve, all are positive here, whatever the terms we are considering. So positive into positive is always positive, negative into negative is always positive. So that these two also correct. And your b by 2a always lies in between k and h, because the b by 2a is always the vertex, it always lies in between minus b by 2a. Now let's go to the 6th, right? Let's go to the K6, that is numbers k and h lie between the roots of the equation. Between the roots of the equation. Let's say this is the alpha and beta. Then your k and h lie in between alpha and beta. Let me take the other possible case, that is This is alpha, and this is beta, and this is K, and this is H, right? So what do you see here? So when a greater than 0, you can see here f of k is less than 0 and f of h is less than 0. When a is less than 0, your f of k is greater than 0, f of h is greater than 0. In both the cases, f of k is greater than 0 and f of h is greater than 0. So here also the conditions are a into f of k is always less than 0, a into f of k is always less than 0, and f of k into f of h is always positive. F of k into f of h is also always positive when this k and h lie between the roots of the given equation. I hope you have understood the location of the roots. As I told you, I am repeating it again. Most of the times, most of the questions from JEE Main and JEE Advanced will be asked on the properties of the roots and the location of the roots. Okay. Now, the last but not least, common roots. So, in order to see the common roots, let me take any two equations, a1x square plus b1x plus c1 is equal to 0, and another equation a2x square plus b2x plus c2 is equal to 0, right? So there are two possibilities we will see in this case. The two equations have one common root, and two equations have two common roots. Both the roots are common. Both the roots are common means both the roots are equal. Both the roots are equal means both the equations are same, maybe similar, right? Similar means what does it mean? It means that suppose I have something like x square plus 3x plus 2 is equal to 0, right? So what is the similar condition? If I want to have another quadratic equation with the same roots, then you may have to multiply with some number here. Maybe let's multiply with 2 into x square plus 3x plus 2 is equal to 0. This equation also has the same roots, right? Even though the coefficients are different, what are the coefficients here? 2x square plus 6x plus 4 is equal to 0, right? What do you see? When you see that the ratio of the corresponding coefficients remains equal, that means a1 by a2 will be equal to b1 by b2 will be equal to c1 by c2. So this is the case where it has both roots common, have both roots common, then this is the condition a1 by a2, b1 by b2 which is equal to c1 by c2. Let's see what the condition to have one common root. One common root. Let's say that the common root is alpha or beta. Okay. Let alpha be the one common root. Then can I write it as a1 alpha square plus b1 alpha plus c1 is equal to 0 is one condition. And a2 alpha square plus b2 alpha plus c1 is equal to c2 is equal to 0. Right. So in order to get the relation or the value of alpha, what can be done here? So you can make these two values alpha square coefficients equal. That means you can multiply with a2 and a2 here and a2 here. So a1 here, a1 here, a1 here on both the sides. You will see that when you subtract one from the other, you will see that alpha into a2 b1 minus a1 b2, which is equal to c2 a1 minus c1 a2. Or you can write alpha is equal to c2 a1 minus c1 a2 by a2 b1 minus a1 b2 is the condition to have one common root. The same way you can get it for alpha square as well. To get the value of alpha square, you have to make the coefficients of alpha as same. So how do you do that? You can do that b2, you can multiply with b2, so that alpha square is equal to, so when you multiply with b2, that will become b2 c1. So b1 c2. B1 C2 minus B2 C1 by, so what do you have? A1 B2 minus A2 B1 will be the another equation. So by using these two equations, you can solve when you come across, we can solve the problems when you come across with one common root, or if both the equations have both the roots as common. I hope you have understood. So that's all. That's all about quadratic equations. As I told you, here we don't need to worry about the proofs and derivations. Here only, you will be tested, how do you apply all these equations, all these formulas and all these concepts. That is important in JEE exams, right? So I hope you got it. So if you think that you want the derivations and proofs, you can ping me in the chat box, or you can write in the comment box, so that I'll make another video for any proofs or any derivations required. I hope it is helpful, and I hope you got an idea on it, right? So this is the lecture 1 on the quadratic equations. So there will be 2 more lectures. Lecture 2 and lecture 3 on quadratic equations will be dealt with the problems from the previous JEE questions, JEE papers. Okay, the problems on only on quadratic equations. So on solving those problems, you will realize that you don't require more knowledge than this. That means you have sufficient knowledge to solve the problems from quadratic equations. So I hope it is very helpful. If you like this session, like this video and share it with your friends. Thank you.